For those who don't know or understand, the new Black media are here to amplify the voice of foundational Black Americans, aka American freedmen. Every other community has their unapologetic journalist. However, it's our community that's targeted with labels and anti-FBA propaganda.
Warning. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, allowance is made for fair use, for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use.
In this crooked game of power politics here in America, the Negro, namely the race problem, integration, civil rights issue, are all nothing but tools used by the whites who call themselves liberals against another group of whites who call themselves conservatives, either to get into power or to retain power. Among whites here in America, the political teams are no longer divided into Democrats and Republicans. The whites who are now struggling for control of the American political throne are divided into liberal and conservative camps. The white liberals from both parties cross party lines to work together toward the same goal, and white conservatives from both parties do likewise. The white liberal differs from the white conservative only in one way. The liberal is more deceitful, more hypocritical than the conservative. Both want power, but the white liberal is the one who has perfected the art of posing as the Negro's friend and benefactor. And by winning the friendship and support of the Negro, the white liberal is able to use the Negro as a pawn or a weapon in this political football game that is constantly raging between the white liberals and the white conservatives.
What it do, family and friends? Welcome back to the Church of Black Power. If you're not subscribed, go ahead, hit that subscribe button along with the notification bell so you'll be notified whenever videos like this drop. Please make sure you're hitting that like and share button so we can beat up the algorithm. Make sure we get this message out to the ears that need to hear. And if you have not done so yet, please click that link in the description, go to change.org and put your signature on the petition for reparations. And with that being said, family, first and foremost, happy New Black Media Appreciation Month. I want to pose a couple of questions, give a couple of stories. First question would be, who exactly is the New Black Media? The New Black Media, and this is just my perspective on things, I'm not the New Black Media. I'm a part of the New Black Media. Jason Black is not the New Black Media. He's a part of the New Black Media. Black Alpha, Tariq Nasheed, Torian Reigns, Lisa Cabrera, none of us are the New Black Media. We are part of the New Black Media. And the reason why I say that is because you are the New Black Media. The foundational black grassroots is the New Black Media. You see, anytime Dick or Harry can go and pick up a microphone and start speaking. But if you don't have any ties to the foundational black grassroots, well, then you ain't going to go far. Look at all the people like Joyless Reed, Rolanda Martin, Angela Cry, Tiffany Cross-Eyes, Andrew Gullum. None of these people are connected to the black grassroots. And because of that, they are easily uprooted whenever the time comes. None of these people have any grassroots support. And because of that, they get no interaction. And the interaction they do get is nothing but Democratic shills. See, when you have the support of the black grassroots, it's because the black grassroots know that you're speaking for the interests of the black grassroots. If you're not speaking for the interests of the black grassroots, you're not going to get that far. I want to tell a story real quick. I started this page in 2020 after I went out and marched for George Floyd out here in Houston. And at the time, you had people who were out there marching for our community, such as myself. And then you had people who were sent out here to march from Black Lives Matter. And as we were marching through the streets of Houston, marching from one point downtown all the way to the city council, city hall, excuse me. And once we got there, it wasn't really put together well. You know, there wasn't like any mic stands or nothing like that. But there was this stage, basically, where you towered over everybody who was there. And many of the people who were so-called leaders of the Black Lives Matter movement were up there speaking. But yet, what they were talking about made absolutely no sense to me, because they were talking about all these other things, but not about the real issue at hand, which was the unaliving of George Floyd. So I ended up taking the stage, and I ended up, because there was no microphones, I ended up over talking everybody, and I ended up making it very clear how we can stop things like this, like boycotting your dollars, spending your money with people who are funding these police departments, making sure that stops. As soon as I start talking about boycotting these corporations and businesses that actually give funding to the police officers, one of the ladies from the BLM movement, and I'm not going to say her name, but she's the granddaughter of someone who marched with Dr. King. She immediately goes up and say, no. We don't want y'all to stop doing that. We're very grateful to our corporate benefactors. Basically telling people to continue to spend their money with these same businesses that was giving funds to the police department after the death of George Floyd. That was also the first time I met Sheila Jackson Lee. And I asked her to come on my podcast. I wanted to, interview her about the reparations hearing at the time. I wanted to talk to her about the reparations hearing, and I wanted to really hone her down on the policy of reparations. Fast forward, next couple of days happen, and I'm seeing all these videos of all these people coming out who claim to be at that same march that I was at. And they were just putting out a whole buttload of different narratives. That Black folks was over there destroying stuff, which it wasn't happening at the time. There was, at the same time as we were marching, you had disruptors running up, tossing water bottles and tossing glass bottles at different businesses and things like that. And many of the men ran up on them, such as myself, and got them up out of the paint. So much so that Sheila Jackson Lee saw that and she was like, well, y'all should be leading this march. But I digress. When I saw that narrative, when I got home, it became a situation that was clear to me that if I didn't speak up and actually give the correct narrative of what was happening out there, then nobody would. And so I started this page. And my very first video was me addressing some of the things that was happening out there during the march with George Floyd. Well, for George Floyd. So this is how my page started. And I say that to say this. If we're not controlling the narrative that circles who we are and the things that we do, someone else will. And so why is the new Black media so important? Because we are you and you are us. We represent our interest because we are a part of foundational Black America. And when you're not connected to foundational Black America, you can be paid, you can be swayed, and you can be convinced to speak for everyone else. So it's very important that we have the representation and authenticity that the new Black media have. Because the representation in itself, y'all remember before the new Black media started really speaking up, before you had your Jason Blacks and your, Tariq Nasheeds and your Lisa Cabreras, your Torian Reigns, whenever you turned on the news and something bad happened, the mainstream media, the lamestream media, would be perpetuating these stereotypes whenever it had something to do with black folk. When Trayvon Martin was unalived, they pushed this whole stereotype. Well, he was walking around with a hoodie on and a pack of Skittles, as if that made him dangerous. I noticed that everybody else had their unapologetic anchorman for their communities, whether it's Latinos, whether it's your Ben Shapiro's, and all of them was dead set on one thing: preserving their culture. So one of the jobs of the new black media is to what? Preserve ours. Because they're trying to destroy and pick apart our culture and give it to other people. And another thing that we do, we're the advocates of our interest. We are the only people who advocate for what's necessary for our people. You don't get that out of your Roland Martins. You don't get that out of Tiffany Cross Eyes or Angela Cry. We're the only ones that talk about economic empowerment on this side. Everybody else talk about empowering everyone else while telling you, oh, don't worry, hey, things are still good. Don't worry. Hey, we're supposed to want to do for these people. We're supposed to be the whipping mule for these other people. We're supposed to be the whipping mule for everybody. And if you don't want to be the whipping mule for everybody, then guess what? You're xenophobic. You're a racist. You're a hate group. It's very important for us to continue to be our own voices, because people are being paid in all areas, whether it's high levels of the lamestream media or the lowest levels of social media. People are being paid. Y'all remember during the time of the election, and I did a couple of broadcasts. Well, I released a couple of videos that spoke about the social media influencers being paid by the DNC. Well, shout out to Jason Black, because he posted this clip. Well, actually, it's an article. He posted this article, and I want to share this screen here. So Jason Black posted this article, and I want to go through it because there's a lot to break down in this article. And there's so much more under the dirt than I realized when I said that they were paying off the influencers. So let's go here, family. So it says, reveal pro Kamala social media millions that couldn't sync brat with Democrat. Let's go. The abrupt withdrawal last year of President Joe Biden as a Democratic Party presidential nominee, followed rapidly by his replacement with Vice President Kamala Harris, irked many voters left out by the process. Yet, social media seems to ooze with enthusiasm and Gen Z-friendly hipster appeal. Influencers flooded the web with neo-matcha green pro Kamala Harris video syncs to beats from singer Charlie XCX's album, Brat, released last year. The Poppy Rave video, Gush journalist, showed that Harris embodied the confidentially independent Brat vibe conveyed by the music. Social media pages bubbled with memes celebrating Harris as the voice of queer and Black youth, in contrast with the Republican agenda of white supremacy. Digital creator Amelia Montooth, in one viral TikTok video, kissed a woman and tried searching for pornography. Actions her sketch suggested actions in her sketch, I guess this is a very poorly written article. Actions in her sketch suggested would be banned if Harris lost the election. Hold up here. Harris, a career politician favored by the Democratic Party establishment, never quite fit the bill as an icon of activist movements. But the sudden influence, excuse me. Let me drink some water, excuse me. All right, thank you. But the sudden influencer buzz seemed to transform the studi former prosecutor into an icon of the cultural zeitgeist. As it turns out, the tidal wave of enthusiasm was not entirely genuine. Much of the content, including Montooth's videos, were quietly funded by an elusive group of Democratic billionaires and major donors in an arrangement designed to conceal the payments from voters. And while we having all of these Democrats running around here talking about Elon Musk, and all this other nonsense, Jasmine Crockett, they're being funded. These same billionaires, George Soros, these same billionaires are going out funding these folks who were running around here promoting Kamala Harris throughout the election, which should be illegal. You're supposed to be able, well, I guess it doesn't apply to social media, but if you're being paid to promote a campaign in the media, you have to let people know. And that's why it's such a big thing that Al Sharpton was taking money and didn't disclose that he was taking money from Kamala Harris's camp. That's why it's such a big deal that Rolanda Martin was taking money and didn't disclose that he took money for his interview. Real clear investigations obtained internal documents and WhatsApp messages from Democratic strategists behind the influencer campaign. Way to Win, that's the name of the company that was paying them folks off. One of the major donor groups behind the effort spent more than $9.1 million on social media influencers during the 2024 presidential election. Payments revealed here for the first time. The amount was touted in the document circulating after the election, detailing the organization's accomplishments. The effort supported over 550 content creators. Family, they were paying over 550 content creators to push pro Kamala Harris propaganda. The effort supported over 550 content creators who published 6,644 posts across platforms TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Twitch, and X. Way to Win coach creators on phrases, issue areas, and key themes. Phrases, issue areas and key themes to disseminate pro-Kamala content throughout the cycle and post-election memo, a post-election memo from the group noted. Family, I want to go here real quick and we're going to get back to this. Let's go here real quick. Do you all remember this? After the election dropped? Let's go here.
When I win, I will immediately bring prices down starting on day one.
Same talking points being passed around to all of those influencers. You don't think that that's what they're doing with all the politicians? Let's go here, family.
Headley.
And I'm Ryan Wolf.
Our greatest responsibility is to serve our Treasure Valley communities, the El Paso, Las Cruces communities, Eastern Iowa communities,
Mid-Michigan communities.
We are extremely proud of the quality, balanced journalism that CBS 4 News produces.
But we are concerned about troubling, irresponsible, one-sided news stories plaguing our country.
The sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and
false news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish these stories simply aren't true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
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 Family, as I stated, when I said authenticity, when you look at all these other news outlets, you're not getting that. And the same thing was happening with those influencers. But here go the politicians. There you go.
The strength that we have is in this moment.
Listen to your constituents. Center them in this moment.
But I can tell you that there are a lot of people that are watching his leadership in this moment. This is the moment.
You know, I think about what's happening, in this moment.
What's important is that we meet this moment.
So are these current Democrats the ones to meet the moment?
What do you want to see us doing right now in this moment?
And which Democrats are actually going to stand up against Elon Musk and Donald Trump in this moment?
The fight that you all are exhibiting is not just what the base wants, but it's what this moment requires.
The strength that we have is in this moment.
Listen to your constituents. Center them in this moment.
But I can tell you that there are a lot of people that are watching his leadership in this moment. This is the moment.
No, I think about what's happening, in this moment.
What's important is that we meet this moment.
So are these current Democrats the ones to meet the moment?
What do you want to see us doing right now in this moment?
And which Democrats are actually going to stand up against Elon Musk and Donald Trump in this moment?
The fight that you all are exhibiting is not just what the base wants, but it's what this moment.
Well, family, we're living in a situation where people are being trained. They're being coached. They're being puppeteered, one might say. And people wonder why the new black media is necessary. Salute, Miss Nisi. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I barely watch the mainstream media. I watch what I need to watch and I read what I need to read in order to bring the news. But yeah, you don't put too much stock into these news broadcasts. Before we continue, before we get back into the article here, let me go ahead and give some shout outs and salutes. Of course, off the back, shout out and salute to our sister, Miss Nisi. I appreciate you for being here, sister. Shout out and salute to the big black God. Thank you for being here, sister. Shout out and salute to our brother, Jesse Paris. Thank you for being here, my brother. All right, let's get back into this article here. All right, so the look behind the curtain reveals that at least some of the image making around the Kamala Harris candidacy was carefully orchestrated by the same types of covert social media marketing often used by corporate brands and special interest groups. I wonder, are these the same corporate brands and special interest groups that's most likely going to be funding or putting their money behind April 5th? I wonder that whole situation with Costco and Al Sharpton, was he funded by these same corporate brands and interest groups? Inquiring minds would like to know. Such companies provide the illusion of organic support through the authentic appeal of trusted social media voices. What does that sound like, family? Does that not sound like all of these people who's on social media talking about April 5th, there's going to be 1 million people marching against Donald Trump and his agenda, marching against fascism, marching for illegals? Don't that sound exactly like those folk? All of a sudden, there's just so much support for this situation. Whew. Way to win. And internal messages touted its work with the stable of Democratic Party affiliates, influencers, and activists included Harry Sessions, Emily Amick, Kate Abu, and Dash Dobrowski. Okay. The group off. I'm sorry, that name just gets me. It takes me back to my bros out in Cali. Anyway, The group also overly cultivated non-political creators, influencers, typically known for travel vlogs, comedic skits, and cooking recipes. Wasn't that something else that we were talking about, family? That none of these people was talking about politics before this election cycle came up. These were people who was talking about traveling. These were people who was talking about makeup. These were people who was talking about cooking. All of a sudden, now they gained some sort of political consciousness. In my opinion, April 5th is set up by PCs and white supremacists, the Cox FBA participation. Yeah, I agree with you. In our own demise. You're absolutely correct. I think it's the same people as we're seeing right here. Because once we get towards the end of this article, they don't think they did anything wrong. They think that they literally, if they had more people who had eyes on social media instead of the mainstream media, which is obtuse because God dang, there's articles showing that, most people are getting their news from social media nowadays. They're not using the mainstream media. But these folks believed if there was more people that got their news from social media, that they would have been calling Kamala Harris the next president. But let's continue. Let's see, where did I stop here? Okay, here. Influencers typically known for travel vlogs, comedic skits, or cooking recipes, and seeded them with positive, specific pro-Kamala content that was integral, integral. I don't know what's going on with my damn, hold on. Integral in settings and tones of the internet and driving additional organic digital support. The effort often took the form of talking points that were rapidly distributed to the in-network creators. Bro, who is Tim Walz? Said Abby the artist. One of the TikTok creators backed by Way to Win. He's a football coach. That's hard. The influencer continued. It's time for Republicans to drop out. It's not looking good for y'all. That is ridiculous. Salute Reparations Nation. Thank you for being here, family. It's time for Republicans to drop out because it's not looking good for y'all. That was the talking point a lot. You had a lot of these folks running around here talking about, ooh, child, with Kamala Harris in the race now, I'm certain that the Republicans are going to lose. Donald Trump is going to lose. Auntie Kamala. Now y'all know where that Auntie Kamala campaign came from. It came from Way to Win. In a series of internal presentations about the influence campaign, Way to Win emphasized its data-driven approach. We know what messaging works. Obviously, y'all don't know what messaging works because you lost. Noted Liz Jaff, a branding strategist working with Way to Win, during a call with donors last year. She touted the use of AI-based focus groups, tool developed by Future Forward, the Harris campaign's primary super PAC. So they were getting ideas from an AI-based focus group tool. So they were getting their marketing ideas from an AI-based focus group tool developed by a super PAC. Oh boy. And they say that These students are relying too much on AI these days. Jeff also explained the process for delivering talking points that could be inserted into organic appearing messages. Notice organic appearing messages and post on social media. Another thing that this article is going to show, it's just going to show right now that everything that you're hearing against FBAs, 9 times out of the 10 is a marketing strategy. It is one of these folks behind FBAs are a cult. It is one of these folks that's behind FBA is a hate group. That's what I'm getting out of this. We then convey that to the influencer. You know what? Let me go back here. Jeff also explained the process of for developing talking points that could insert into organic appearing messages and posts on social media. We then convey that the influencer who take that into their own words, continue Jeff. So they're taking what's given to them into their own words. We then test those videos and see what's needed to be boosted, she said. She added, referencing paid media efforts to apply specific TikTok videos or favorite streamers. So all of these videos that were being boosted during the time of the election for Kamala Harris, this is why. All these videos of people claiming us to be a hate group or a cult, this is why. The lofty promises of messages mastery, however, often fell short. Way to Win directly financed a series of clunky YouTube shows. I wonder, was Tiffany Cross-Eyes and Angela Cry and Andrew Gillum, where was their show one of these clunky YouTube shows? I'm just asking for a friend. And liberal identity politic oriented social media skits designed to bring voters out to support the Harris campaign and the Democrats more broadly. There's little evidence that such measures moved any significant numbers for voters during the election, in which Democrats lost historical levels of support from key constituency groups, the youth vote, Latinos, and Black men swung significantly to Donald Trump last year, upending decades of voting patterns. Salute to the big black God. Thank you for your Cash App, family. Yo, donation is blessed tenfold, and I appreciate your contributions, fam. All right. Elena Glazer, a comedian who starred in the Comedy Central show Broad City, received Way to Win funding for a series of election videos called Microdosing Democracy, in which she half-heartedly endorsed Harris as she lighted a spliff of marijuana. Not a spliff of marijuana. Isn't a spliff like marijuana mixed with tobacco or something like that? A spliff of marijuana. Anyway, another TikTok Instagram series backed by the donors called Gaydar featured interviews quizzing people on the streets of New York about gay culture trivia and little election related content. That's what it was. Okay, I knew I wasn't tripping. I knew I wasn't tripping, bro. So they just basically said two different things, but okay. Let's see. Way to Win also funded a caravan of an inflatable IUD to Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., Raleigh, St. Louis, and other locations. The tour, which featured content creators producing posts along the way, was designed to bring attention to claims that Trump would ban contraceptive devices. Okay. In an apparent attempt to boost Harris' support among Black men, Way to Win directly funded a series of YouTube interview style talk shows called Watering Hole Media. And this is when you see them going to the barbershops. This is when you see them having DL Hughley talk about the Black Men Summit. These are those type of things. Water Hole Media. I heard a brother say to me, man, I didn't know I was going to be excited when Kamala was selected. Said Jeff Johnson, a managing director with the lobbying firm Actum LLC, who worked as a host for the Watering Hole media series, Tap In. One brother said, quote, I'm not even fully sure why. Continued Johnson. So why would you be excited if you didn't know why? And if you were given these talking points, who was stupid enough to say, you know what? Let's add in. I'm excited about Kamala. I didn't know I was going to be excited about Kamala, but I definitely, I don't know why though. That only makes you look like an uninformed voter. So I don't know who thought that they were winning with that. No, seriously, he said, quote, when I look at her though, she reminds me of my aunt. And I say this is where that auntie talking point came from. And I said, yes. So there is this communal piece. The discussion taped at Democratic National Convention in Chicago last August buzzed about the through line from the Black Panthers to the Nation of Islam to Harris's nomination, suggesting her candidacy represented another monument in radical Black politics. My auntie wouldn't have sold us out. You damn right, Reparations Nation. Salute to you, family. Salute to you, family. So they were basically trying to make her out. They were trying to make a link from the Black Panthers to the Nation of Islam to Harris's nomination, trying to make her seem like a radical Black politician. Well, all you have to do is look at her goddamn history in California to know that that's a lie. She was no radical Black politician. She was a politician, excuse me. She was a person that targeted the Black community in California. And that's why none of this stuff got off the damn ground. It didn't get off the ground when she ran the first time. It didn't get off the ground now, even with billions of dollars behind her. You can't fake influence, in the words of Kendrick Lamar. They tried to rig the game. That whole line right there literally applies to everything that we're reading here, family. They tried to rig the game, but you can't fake influence. And that's exactly what's happening here. They tried to fake influence and literally lost dastardly. It's so pathetic. It's hilarious. It's so pathetic that it's hilarious. Let's continue. Hold up. The Way to Win sponsored media group sponsored many similar discussions attempting to buy the Harris candidacy with appeals to racial identity politics. Despite the well-funded effort, few turned in. The seven video programs produced at the DNC collectively garnered fewer than 1,000 views. They garnered fewer than 1,000 views for all the money they put behind that program. One video had fewer than 40 views. That's bad. That is bad. Let me get some water real quick, family. Absolutely. That's what I'm saying. It's so freaking pathetic. It's hilarious at this point. It's hilarious. All right. Questions have mounted over the campaign spending decisions from Harris and her supporting organizations. The Harris campaign and her super PAC spent over $1.5 billion in her last months of the campaign. Y'all could have just gave that to us. Y'all could have just came to the Black community and said, you know what? Look, we realize and recognize that we have not been speaking towards your interests. We've been ignoring you as our number one constituency group, and we're going to make a change. And to show you that we're serious about making a change, we got $1.5 billion that we're going to put into a fund for Black businesses, strictly only for Black businesses. And, you know, we're going to eliminate some of the red tape that you guys go through in order to get business funding. Boom, right there. Right there, you would have had at least something to run with. But you took that $5 billion, that $1.5 billion, excuse me, and you took it and splurged it on a bunch of social media influencers that had no sway within the Black grassroots, had no sway within the new Black media. And y'all lost badly. Paying Rolanda Martin for nothing. Paying Al Sharpton for nothing. Paying Too Loud, Too Wrong for nothing. And you could have just brought those funds right on over to us. The Harris campaign and their super PAC spent over $1.5 billion in the last month of the campaign, with much of the money flowing to consultants and media advertising. Alex Cooper, who hosted Harris for an interview on on her Call Her Daddy podcast, I remember that, was baffled about why the campaign spent $100,000 on a cardboard temporary studio set that was, quote, wasn't that nice, end quote. Spent $100,000 on a cardboard temporary studio. Now look at, I want to see how much they gave Oprah for her studio setup. But I digress. That wasn't that nice. Others have raised similar concerns about payments to Oprah Winfrey's studio production firm. Excuse me. Oprah Winfrey's production firm. Our 2024 creator program reached key audiences with nearly 1 billion views. How did those views translate into votes? Please tell me. Don't worry, I'll wait. But there's more to do. And we're applying lessons from last cycle. And we're applying lessons from last cycle. So they're going to take what they've learned or didn't learn and continue to apply these things. A Way to Win spokesperson said in a statement to RCI. Sometimes in presidential campaigns, there are times where there aren't any cost controls. Observe Mike's Munkus, whatever. A Democratic strategist in Pennsylvania. The biggest question is whether they had an empirical evidence that this TikTok messaging would work. And as you saw, it didn't work. There was no empirical evidence to show that it would work, and it didn't work. Out of those billions of views that they're bragging about up here, nearly 1 billion views, none of them really translated into votes. The payments occupy a hazy area of election law. And this is what I was talking about where I said it should be illegal because they're supposed to have to be required to say this is a paid sponsorship or paid advertising, whatever. The Way to Win structured the funds through nonprofit corporations that pay various influencer talent agencies. So they created businesses to take that money and pay these people without it tying back to them directly. It's kind of like how movie studios always create a different movie studio when they're filming a movie, right? Because if the movie gets sued for any reason, it gets sued through that studio. So this is basically what they're doing. Let me see here. Firms such as Palette Management and Vocal Media. The money was not listed in the Federal Election Commission disclosure portals. Excuse me, let me reread that. I don't know what's going on with me today. The money was not listed in the Federal Election Commission disclosure portals that show political funds spent during the campaign. While television or radio ads require disclaimers showing the groups responsible for paying for those advertisements, there are no equivalent mandates for TikTok stars or Instagram personalities that receive payments to promote elections-related content. Despite some attempts to reform election transparency regulations, minimum progress has been made. The FEC has deadlocked over attempts to form new laws to govern the influencer spaces, leaving the entire medium virtually lawless regarding campaign cash. So you can't trust nobody on the internet, ladies and gentlemen. You don't know whether it's just their personal opinion or whether they've been funded to do so. And like I said, if you think that it's just about elections, you think that they just do this around election time, you are sadly mistaken, my friend. You are absolutely mistaken, because they're doing this in all areas of social, economic, anywhere they have a hand. Let's continue. Way to Win operates several entities and corporations, most of which do not disclose donors. The group did not respond to a request for comment for more information in this regard. However, the catch of documents about the influencer campaign pointed to some clues. Way to Win hosted a series of donors-only events in San Francisco and Washington, D.C., which representatives of the Open Society Foundation, a charity backed by billionaire investor George Soros, while they run around here talking about billionaires. OSF did not respond to a request for comment. Democrats are hardly alone in payola for influencers, and I've said this many times and many times over as well, family. It's not just the Democrats, it's the Republicans too that be paying to play. They be out here paying people in the social media atmosphere, the influencer situation, to come out against reparations and all this other stuff. Don't get it confused. Do not get it confused. If one is doing it, you bet your bottom damn dollar that the other one's doing it too. Republicans' campaigns have spent several $100,000 on similar social media marketing agencies that touted the ability to seed context with popular accounts on X and Twitter. I don't know what the hell. But the attempted reach and spending of the pro-Kamala Harris 2024 efforts is unprecedented. Unpreceded. I don't know what's going on with me today. For Way to Win, the group justified the spending spree as the only way to compete with pro-Trump voices and popular podcasts such as Joe Rogan, which the Harris campaign excused. Family, they wasn't really in this sentence. What I got out of that, they wasn't really talking about Joe Rogan. They were talking about people like Jason Black. They were talking about people like Torian Rain. They were talking about people like Black Alpha. They were talking about people like Afro Elite, Lisa Cabrera. They were talking about people like you. That was why they spent all that money. That's the real justification of why they spent all that money. It wasn't pro-Trump voices that they had an issue with. It was you. It was your voices. And the fact that your voices never went away. That's where they had the big problem. That's where they had their major issue. The voice of the Black grassroots is what they spend billions of dollars to combat. That's it, and that's all. Because if they would have gave that $1.5 billion to the black grassroots, they wouldn't have had a problem combating the whole situation of pro-Trump voices in popular podcasts like Joe Rogan. Our goal this year was to combat conservative content domination on Instagram and TikTok. We did that. Way to Win claimed in a triumphant memo to donors after the election. In a triumphant, they were triumphant, family. Even though the Democratic Party lost, they were triumphant in combating conservative content domination. So why did that translate into votes? Had more Americans gotten their media from Instagram and TikTok, the December memo argued Kamala Harris would be the next president of the United States of America. Family, they're not even taking into account that they had a losing strategy to begin with. They had a losing strategy to begin with. They tried to fake influence. They tried to pay people who had no sway in the black grassroots in order to get the black grassroots on board. So they tried to bring you synthetic influence. They tried to bring you synthetic influence in order to garner your organic black grassroots influence. What kind of sense does that make? It's literally an oxymoron. You can't go get a white lady like Rachel Dolezal, whatever, who pretends to be black, and then put her in front of black America and have her spewing a bunch of nonsense talking about this is why we need to go and support the Democratic Party as black people. People gonna call her out like, we as what? As black people?
What the does that mean, Kobe Bryant?
People will call her out and say, hey, you know you're not black, right? You know you're not a part of this community, right? Where is this we coming from? When did people started speaking French so much in America? Synthetic influence versus organic influence, exactly. And they try to use synthetic influence to garner organic influence, which makes no sense. Because the people who are organic, we hear the people who are synthetic and their talking points don't match up. And even to the point, if they do match up for a small period of time, we continue to listen. We continue to let them talk, because the more they talk, the more they tell you their agenda. It always shifts left. It always shifts right. This is the problem that we have across the board, where people want to use the black trauma in America, but then when you start talking about solutions for black trauma, you start talking about we need things for LGBTQ. You talk about black trauma, but then when it starts to come to the point to talk about solutions for black trauma, you shift over to illegals. You bring up black trauma, but when it's time to talk about the solutions for our black trauma, you want to talk about Caribbeans, Africans. And we're saying no to all of that. To all of it. So why do you think they spend $1.5 billion? Do you really think it was because of Trump and his pro-Trump podcast supporters? No. Because they keep trying to put infiltrators within our movement and we keep calling them out. Where are your family from? Who are you? We don't know you in the Black grassroots. Oh, see, you've been talking like the Black grassroots, but your agenda that you're pushing is LGBTQ. But the agenda that you're pushing is pro-immigration, illegal immigration at that. Nah, family. And that's why they fall short. Because they don't have the organic and authentic. They have the synthetic. And syntheticness does not bring admiration. Syntheticness does not bring gratification. Syntheticness will only bring more synthetic people. Like your D.L. Hughley's, like your Ricky Smiley's, your Steve Harvey's. None of these folks was able to garner any votes. None of them. Your Plies, your insert person here, none of them were able to garner the votes from the Black grassroots. And instead of these people saying, you know what, we need to recalibrate our strategy if we're going to ever get back into the White House again. No. Instead of them saying that, they're saying if more people just got their news from social media, we would be calling Kamala Harris the president of the United States right now. That's exactly what it is. These folks have such a hard head. It's ridiculous. I thought my head was hard because I'm a Taurus. But these folks' head is so hard, so much harder than mine. Pause. I might be able to tear through a brick wall, but these guys are running through steel. Reinforced steel at that. But that's because, once again, they have no ties to the foundational Black grassroots. They have no ties to the true new Black media. They have no ties to you. And since they have no ties to you, they keep failing, drastically failing. So family, take a bow. It's because of your efforts that they're out here spending $1.5 billion to combat the voices of the new Black media. It's because of you they're spending $1.5 billion on social media influencers because they think they can reach you on more of a grassroots level through them. It's been your voices that's been making them go haywire. And that article said that she spent they spent that 1.5 billion in the last months of her campaign. That's how desperate they were. But obviously they wasn't desperate enough, because if they were desperate enough, they would have brought you that $1.5 billion. They'd have been knocking on your door. Hey, Miss Niecy, here's $100,000. Hey, Jesse, here's $100,000. Do what you please. I know you got a business. You want to help scale your business. This is my effort to get your vote, because I believe in my constituents and I want my constituents to believe in me. Hey, big black God, here, take this check for $100,000. Reparations Nation, hey, my brother, here, take this check for $100,000. Now, some people will call that buying an election. Who cares? Elon Musk is running around here literally giving out thousands upon thousands of dollars to people. All of a sudden, we need to be worried about what's right and what's wrong. They didn't care about what was right and what's wrong while Biden was in office. And all those illegals was coming into the country and they was giving them all that funding. Giving them all that funding. They didn't do nothing. I didn't hear nobody coming out that wasn't us in the new black media calling that out. No. Because the mainstream media was pushing it as a good thing. We need illegals. Who's going to pick the fruit? Who's going to pick the crops? No. We were the ones calling that out. We were the ones calling out the fact that the Democratic Party gave Asian Americans a hate crime bill along with $50 million when we're the ones who suffered the most out of all the hate crime stats. That was the new black media. We were the ones calling out the fact that they're giving billions of dollars to Ukraine when they still owe foundational black Americans a debt that has not been paid. That was us. Every time they brought out your Jasmine Crockett's, your Al Sharptons, your Al Greens, your Clyburns, your Schumers, we were the people calling them out. And we're still the people calling them out. That's what it is. And that's why the new black media is important. Because we're not here to do a job because somebody pays us. We're here to do this because it's in the interest of our people. I agree with you, Jesse. They would have been better off giving us that money. Because Boulay Martin didn't do nothing but go and buy 100,000 hot wings. Sat at the table and ate them all. He didn't even leave the store. He went straight to Wingstop and bought 100,000 hot wings. Devoured them, and then he went to Buffalo Wild Wings and bought another 100,000 just to compare the flavors and tastes from one restaurant to the other. And then he took the rest of that money and he went and had neck surgery so he could find his neck. The surgery was unsuccessful, though. He's still no neck Martin. But let's be very, real stuff, Reparations Nation. Every election is bought. It just depends on how you buy it. Are you using Apple Pay? Are you cutting a check? Are you using credit? Just a very simple thing to think about. Every election is bought. But how are you paying for it? Now, here's the thing too. If you're not paying for it and you think that you're just going to dine and dash, don't complain when you trip and that doorknob hit you dead in the face. Somebody stuck that foot out on you and you didn't reach the destination that you were trying to reach because of the fact that, you didn't pay your bill. Miss Buffalo Wild Wings suck. I feel you, Miss Niecy. I don't like Buffalo Wild Wings either. I remember one time I went and it was like during a boxing match. I went and bought like $70 worth of food of wings and stuff, just different assortments of wings, right? Because I didn't feel like cooking. And god dang it, when I say not one of those damn flavors tasted good, I mean the lemon pepper rub, it wasn't as bad as all the other flavors. I think the only other flavor outside of the lemon pepper rub that was okay was the barbecue, and that's because god dang it, it's barbecue. But yeah, they don't have too many good flavors over at Buffalo Wild Wings. But Miss Niecy, Roland Martin, he don't care. He don't care at all whether it tastes good or not. He don't eat because he likes the taste. He eats because he must. It's an endless cycle for him. He has to eat. One of the reasons why they will never be able to find his neck. Just to be honest with you. But family, if you're not subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button along with the notification bell so you can be notified whenever videos like this drop. Please make sure you're hitting the like and share button so we can beat up the algorithm. Make sure we get this message out to the ears that need to hear. And if you have not done so yet, please hit that link in the description. Go to change.org and put your signature on the petition for reparations. And with that being said, family, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm just so proud. I'm proud of the Black grassroots. I'm proud of the new Black media. I'm proud of what we've accomplished in less than 10 years. When it comes to moving the needle, that's been us, baby. It hasn't been your legacy media. Whether you're talking about reparations being brought to the forefront of the lexicon, whether it's calling out the Democratic Party for their anti-Black shenanigans, calling out the Republican Party for their anti-Black shenanigans. We've been standing on business every time. And as long as we continue to do that, we're going to continue to win. And notice I said continue to win because we are winning. They might not like to tell you that. They might not like to say it. Other people might not like to say that out their mouths because they believe it's a jinx. I know one thing for certain and one thing for sure. When you're winning, you make people know that you're winning. You make sure people know you're winning. Put it in their face the same way they try to put it in ours. Salute, Miss Niecy, absolutely. As Jason Black says, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And the marathon shall continue. The marathon shall continue, and I'm going to be 100%. This generation is doing more for the next generation than anybody can fathom, and that's why they're trying to slow us down. That's why they're trying to slow us down. That's why they're spending $1.5 billion to a bunch of nobodies to try to combat what the somebodies are saying. That's why they're spending all that money. And guess what? That's why they're going to continue to spend all that money. because our voices are way more powerful than their voices, even though their voices are louder than ours. You can take a synthetic influencer and amplify his voice and put him up against the new black media any day of the week. And the new black media will overpower and overthrow whatever that cat is talking about. Because the new black media and the voices of the black grassroots, we're the only one with sway. Everybody else want our sway. I talk about our political capital all the time. When it comes to political capital, foundational Black Americans are unmatched and undefeated. So whenever you're hearing people coming out talking about FBAs are a hate group, we need to start asking the question, okay, what firm are you paid by? No. What social media marketing firm is paying you to promote this anti-Black foundational Black American talking point? Who is cutting your check to tell everybody that follows you that we don't deserve to get a check cut to us? And by doing that, we're shutting down more and more of their minions. And less will people want to go to their minions because they see that they are organic. But with that being said, family, the doors of the church are now closed. Thank you for being here.
My grandfather built this country, man. He fought wars for it. And most places he went wouldn't let him sit down and get a cup of coffee. I can't even catch a cab in New York. You know, it doesn't matter how many degrees I get. All you people see is color. Your grandfather was an immigrant. You're American. My grandfather was born here, Duke. And you people still look at me as just another nigga.
I know that the government, whatever can't stand us black people, he's doing everything in the world to make black man be extinct. But I'm going to tell you one thing, us black people going to survive. Yeah. So fuck everybody. I'm out.